Hey guys, so I really wanted to draw a mermaid or a merman, but I couldn't think of which one, and I decided on merman because I like drawing male characters. So here we go. This guy will be a part of my series. There's a werewolf that I drew before. He's kind of like a shapeshifter. His name is Silver Tongue. If you want to see that, he's in my drawings playlist somewhere. You can check it out. And also there's a werewolf, not a werewolf, sorry, a vampire called Night Prowler, which is his partner, and that's also in my drawings playlist. Yeah, this will kind of be in the same like universe as them because those are like my original characters. So yeah, and this guy I'm going to call Koizuma because he kind of looks like a specific koi fish. Let me see if I can find the name. He looks like an ornate koi fish, which is essentially yellow and black color. So I decided to call him Koizuma. Now, most of his skin I decided to keep as like human skin. However, his hand, I wanted to do that his, up to like his thumb, it is like the human like skin tone. However, until like his other fingers on his hand, they're more so the colors that match his scales like on his tail. I also gave him gills so he can breathe underwater. However, he can also breathe on land as well. I just wanted to do something that's like compatible for land and sea. So Koizuma can basically like breathe on water, breathe in water, and breathe on land. And then he also can kind of slither with his tail. I saw this manga and it looked super cool, so I wanted him to have that kind of power. But basically, they made it that the merman in the manga can slither on land and basically technically survive on land. It's just that it's more convenient that if they're in water. So I made it that he can also do that as well. For his ears, I wasn't too sure if I wanted to do the regular mermaid type fins or if I wanted to do a normal human ear because there's so many different variations, but I decided to go with the fins instead. And then his eyes are gray color. For his hair, I originally wanted to go with something that was less natural. I was gonna color it in blue or green, but then I decided to do something natural, so I actually colored in his hair brown afterward. And there was like this long pause of me just thinking of like what color to do it. And originally I was gonna do green, but then I remembered Night Prowler, the vampire, also had green hair, so I opted for doing a more naturalized color, which is brown, and I thought it looks really nice. This reference for this pose was from a Genshin fan art where it had two different algorithms, one with like his normal green highlight and then another one with like a red highlight on his hair. So it was kind of like these bartending poses, so I wanted to do that. Koizuma also has a partner. You will see that in probably like my next video or so. I actually drew him out. I just need to do his process work. They're both sea related though, or water related. And I was gonna do longer hair, but I thought the haircuts actually looked nice, so I kind of looked at like Al-Haytham's hair for that. This drawing took me way longer than I expected. I think it's because I tried to add as much detail as possible to the tail. I was just worried that I wasn't putting enough detail for it, so you'll see at the end. And I basically just wanted that part to look really nice. Here I am, just shading in his hair. I feel like I went for more of like a chocolatey color brown than what I was thinking about going with, so I think I was gonna go for like a more golden brown for his hair, but I decided to do this instead. It's different because I feel like I really use these types of browns for my drawings, so I thought it would be nice to use them. The fact that this drawing is a profile view of the character really kind of bugged me when I was drawing it. I'm still not really good at drawing profile views of characters, like the size of the faces. So therefore, I was really trying to improve on that. I think this one doesn't look that bad. It was just the fact of getting like the head in proportion with the whole body. Sometimes I feel like drawing the profile of the character, it ends up being like it looks kind of uneven, like the head will be bigger and then the body will be smaller, so I try my best to like proportion it properly. I'm just adding more shading to his hair now. Now for the clothing, I decided to go with fancy. He is a merman, so he's only wearing a collared shirt, and that's basically it. His bottom half doesn't need to wear anything because it's just a massive tail. I feel like it'd be such an inconvenience to try to find something to wear for that. Also, you don't want to restrict the tail so much. I decided to go with just a black collared shirt. I've been doing a lot of white collared shirts recently, but I really wanted the character to look fancy because it is kind of like this bartending pose again where he's like pouring a drink. So I ended up keeping it that it was a collared shirt, just like how the reference was. Also, this pose was kind of hard because the body is more turned towards the side, so I genuinely had a struggle of drawing this body. However, his partner, which you'll see in my next video, that pose gave me the hardest time ever because it's even more difficult the way it was. I have to say for this one, it was more so the arms that were difficult, because, what is it? The arm is raised up a bit higher than normal poses that I would do, so the top portion, like the shoulder to the elbow, is supposed to be, it looks a bit shorter than it is, just because the angle and the perspective of the pose. So I kind of really struggled with that as well. Here I am just coloring the shirt. And then on his sleeve, he has this belt-like thing that's attached to like his arm. And for that, I colored it in like a dark gray. I tried to not have that part blend in so much with the rest of the shirt, just because it's a different piece of clothing. And the other arm, I kind of just hid it behind him. I didn't want to draw the other arm, which kind of was difficult because it was supposed to be that he was pouring a drink into his glass, but I made the bottle and his left arm a bit long, his right arm a bit long, sorry, and then I just ended up keeping that arm out instead. So I kind of linked it with his with the other drawing that I drew. And there's the belt colored in. So for his tail and his fins, I was trying to do a black and yellow theme, but I didn't want anything like super stripy to the point where it was like kind of a stereotypical, I feel like, fish color, like just one of those fish you would like normally see when it comes to like cartoonish fish. So I didn't want to go with that, so I ended up going with a different pattern instead. I tried to make it look as natural as possible. My yellow markers are running out of ink, but I guess that played in favor with the whole, instead of like super bright, it ended up being a little more dull and natural. Now, there was another reference I was using from a manga where there was a merman and his tail was just like one strip and it just ended in a spike rather than the typical mermaid tail. I ended up opting out and going for the regular mermaid tail because I thought it would look super cool with it like all fanned out like this. I ended up doing a lot of shading for this tail. I was so afraid that it was going to look kind of like blocky in terms of the colors. I really didn't want any patterns or anything that looked super just like, if I did eat yellow and black stripes, I felt that that would just be blocky colors. So I tried my best to shade everything in. Here I'm using like a golden brownish color to shade stuff in. I also use this for his hands as well, because part of his hand is actually like the scales color. And he also has these extra fin parts that are kind of flowy that are next to his sides. There's only 2 of them that are like on the side of his mermaid tail. or should I say merman tail. But anyways, they're next to the sides of his tail, and they're basically just attached. As you can see, this is more shading than I normally do for different things, like different parts of like outfits and stuff. So I tried my best. I really wanted like the flowy action of the tail just being like kind of flowy around him, so I did like a swoop motion with how it looked. I wanted the pattern for Koizuma's tail to kind of look like it's fanning out, even though it's not really like separate pieces. It's just like two pieces, and that's basically it for his tail. And then I also took like a different type of brown. It's still a little bit golden, but it was a different brown, and I used it to shade more. I got this different shade from actually spreading this brown out onto the yellow instead of just shading in the golden brown that I put on before, and I thought it looked nicer. It added like more texture to his like tail and fins. It feels like there's more definition to the tail, which I absolutely love. So the reference I was using for his tail, like the coloring reference, the tail was supposed to be a light blue, and you could kind of see like the skeletal bone structure of the mermaid tail, so I really wanted to go for that. It was a bit difficult, and honestly I don't think I could get that just from like markers alone. Their medium style for the manga was digital art, so it might have been easier to color stuff and make it look a bit like translucent depending on like what you're using for tools when you're using like colors on like Photoshop or those digital art platforms. So I couldn't really get the effect that I wanted, but I decided to try my best to do that anyways. Also, his ring finger is colored in black instead of just having it as a like the same color as his other scales, so that way it kind of matched like how he has black around his tail in some places only. I don't think I got it quite similar to the tail that I wanted to do. However, the coloring was more shading than I've ever done, so I feel like it is an accomplishment in some parts. And yes, I did give him a wine bottle, so here's me coloring in the wine and the bottle. This was a bit tricky because I wanted to make it that you could kind of see the wine through the bottle, like this translucent, transparent type of texture. So I tried my best with that as well. I normally don't do that with drawings, like when it comes to shading and coloring stuff in, but I really tried this time. And yes, he has long nails. he doesn't have like normal nails. They're more like claws in a way. And now it's outlining time. So the only thing that I didn't color in black, but I instead used the outlining marker for, was for his ear fins. I decided to do that because I wanted them to stand out more. And also, the outlining marker gives me more range in terms of like having more detail because it is a smaller brush tip compared to the touch markers. So it doesn't bleed everywhere in comparison. Overall, I think this drawing turned out pretty good. His teeth are supposed to be sharp, it's just that you can't see it that much. I really love the tail, like how it turned out. It's better than what I expected, like for what I could shade in, because normally I don't do that. Again, that's what I said in the video. But yeah, it's an improvement. And I do think I'm slightly improving on like profile drawings. Overall, I was a bit like scared to do this type of drawing because profile views are always difficult to draw for me. I feel like you always end up ruining the proportions of the character. But this is something that was like really good practice. I just kept his nails white. I didn't bother coloring them in. I felt like the whole ring finger being like black and then having like white nails for the rest was good enough. I tried to use less super bright colors for this drawing because I normally gravitate towards bright colors, so that way there's less coloring, like adding more whites and stuff. But this time I decided to do something different and just go for like the darker colors. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Check down in my description box below. All my social media is there. I'll definitely post the process work for this guy eventually. You can check it out on my social media. I do have a lot to post though, so it's gonna get there like really slowly. But eventually I'll get there to posting Koizuma. And if you want to see my other shapeshifter drawings, you can check out my drawings playlist. They'll all be there as well. And what else? If you guys have any requests for any characters that you like from any games or like animes, TV shows, movies, definitely let me know in the comment section below and I'll check them out. I also added some detailing with this white pen. I decided to do a little bit of like a spot thing so that way it kind of looks a bit flashy, like the tail is supposed to be smooth like scales, so I wanted something to reflect the light a bit, so I did a little bit of dots here and there and some lines as well on his fin. And I also added some highlights for the bottle as well, so that way it looks a bit reflective. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye!